Good day to you. We are going to continue with our topic on leukocytes, which is topic number 3. I'm Dr. Penny Nansamba, a lecturer in the Department of Biomedical and Laboratory Technology and Molecular Biology, BLT, in the School of Biosecurity, Biotechnical and Laboratory Sciences, SBLS, in the College of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources and Biosecurity, COVAB. This is part of Makerere University. This content is part of the module BBLT 2120, Hematology and Blood Transfusion Science. Our subtopic for today is 3.22, Counting of White Blood Cells with the Neubaur counting chamber. The content is going to be the features of the Neubaur counting chamber. Number 2, manual total white blood cell counts. This teaching video is going to consist of 2 parts. In the first part, we are going to show you the features of the Neubaur counting chamber. And in the second part, we are going to show you the manual total leukocyte count. The learning objectives. By the end of this topic, learners will be able to, number 1, explain the principle underlying the Neubaur counting chamber as a tool to quantify red blood cells. And the second learning objective is that by the end of this topic, learners will be able to explain the principle and technique underlying the total leukocyte count using the Neubaur counting chamber. So the first part of the teaching video is going to be the features of the Neubaur counting chamber. The learning objective 1. By the end of this section, you'll be able to explain the underlying By the end of this section, you'll be able to explain the principle underlying the Neubaur counting chamber as a tool to quantify blood cells. Let's begin by describing the features of the Neubaur counting chamber. And we shall look briefly at one piece of principle involved. So the Neubaur counting chamber or hemocytometer is a glass slide, 30 millimeters wide, 70 millimeters long, and 4 millimeters thick. It has a central area engraved with a grid of perpendicular lines where cell counts are performed. And the principle comes here. By observing a defined area of the grid under the microscope, it is possible to count the number of blood cells in a specific volume of fluid. We are still looking at the features of the Neubaur counting chamber, and we have an illustration here. The glass slide, 30 millimeters wide, 70 millimeters long, and 4 millimeters thick. And we can see the grid that's etched into the central counting area. On the right side, we show you the grid as seen under the microscope. So let's look at the cross-section of the Neubaur counting chamber, and we want to highlight the depth of the Neubaur counting chamber, which is used in the calculation of the number of blood cells. So on the right, we see a cross-section of the Neubaur counting chamber with a cover slip covering it. So when the cover slip is placed on top of the Neubaur counting chamber, the central area that houses the grid, shown in the red circle, is at a depth of 0.1 millimeter lower than the rest of the counting chamber. So this depth of 0.1 millimeters is what we are going to consider during the final calculations. Here we're looking at the counting grid under the microscope in relation to the counting of white blood cells. The counting grid consists of a large counting square. It's about 3 millimeters by 3 millimeters area. And this large counting square consists of small squares. The 4 corner small squares are used in the counting of white blood cells. Each of these 4 corners small squares has got an area of 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, giving us a total surface area of 1 millimeter squared. So if we do the counting in all the 4 corner squares, we shall have counted cells in a total surface area of 4 times 1 millimeter squared. And this is used in our final calculation. Now, it's important to note that each of these small corner squares is subdivided into smaller squares. There are 4 by 4 smaller squares, giving us a total of 16 smaller squares, and we shall see the detail of these smaller squares during the actual leukocyte count. Now let's look at the counting grid in relation to the red blood cell counts. The central square is used. It's a central small square. It has got an area of 1 by 1 millimeter squared, giving us a total surface area of 1 millimeter squared. Now this small central square is subdivided into 25 smaller squares. 5 smaller squares by 5 smaller squares, giving us a total of 25 smaller squares. Counting is done in these smaller squares. The area for counting is illustrated in pink. We use the 4 corner smaller squares and a central smaller square. So we're going to count 5 smaller squares out of the 25, giving us an area counted to be 1 out of 5 smaller squares, or 1 out of 5 millimeters squared. Now, if we examine each of these smaller squares highlighted in pink, each has got 16 smallest squares where the actual counting is done, and the detail of which can be seen during the red blood cell count. So let's look at the hemocytometer kit, what you'd purchase from the stores. And it has got the improved Neubaur counting chamber. This is number 1. And a white blood cell pipette tip. It has a white bead and a white tip. It has a hemocytometer cover slip. These are slightly larger than normal cover slips or ordinary cover slips on the market. And lastly, the hemocytometer kit comes with a red blood cell pipette tip. It has a red bead and a red tip. Would like you to visualize the Neubaur counting chamber under the microscope. Watch the following YouTube video from Hematology Lab. The URL link is given in the video. It's a duration of about 4 minutes. Let's review what we've just studied. Let's look at study question 1. Identify and explain any one of the different parameters and technical criterion that are considered during the manual enumeration of blood cells with an improved Neubaur counting chamber. As a hint, Consider the counting grid and the depth of the chamber. This typically is a take-home exercise. So in summary, you have just learned the different components of an improved Neubaur counting chamber and appreciated the universal principle used for the manual enumeration of blood cells. The next steps would be to refer to the lecture notes given to you on the study portal, the activities therein, and the chapters in the textbooks recommended to you for further reading. This is the source of information. It ends part 1. I would like you to follow me and watch part 2 of the teaching video, where we're going to actually look at an actual leukocyte count using the Neubaur counting chamber. Thank you.